evening, perhaps a number of months from now. It might be more expeditious to leave the matter open, receive the additional materials, and then consider the application in totality at that point. But
I'm
it's
not going
clearly
to
up
change
to
my
you.
mind, so I don't know about Joe, but I'm not changing my mind on this. This has been going.
Do I make
on
another
for how
motion?
long?
It would
Or
be
do
a-
I rescind my,
You could call for
original
a motion
motion?
to rescind the previous closure of the matter.
and then take another vote?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to rescind
A motion.
the motion that I made to close the matter.
A motion to
And,
rescind.
right,
Yeah.
and now I make a motion to keep it open.
And keep it open.
All right, I'd make the motion that we keep this open, so we don't have to go through the whole process again.
Second.
Joe, how do you vote?
No.
Gary?
Yes.
Kevin?
No.
Aye.
So the motion fails.
I'm putting you on, we're withdrawing the application effective immediately.
So noted.
Thank you.
All righty. And we're going to take a 5-minute break.
You know, Karen, me personally, I'm just getting sick of this stuff being just pushed off. Everyone so far tonight you want to push off.
Not my call, but if you want.
If he says that they tear down the building, you lose it, that's all I needed to know. I would have voted no on it and been done with it. I don't need any more paperwork.
say one thing. Jay has had ample time.
He was here a couple of times when he just said, I don't need anything. He said, what I'm saying, nothing and all that stuff.
There have been times when he's been asked questions and his response has been, I don't know, I don't want to. I think that he has had ample time to get his questions answered, make his points. This application is not rocket science.
Karen, which one is next?
Pulver.
So that's the one that we expect to take us to 11, right? And then we'll do Brock?
Yeah, poor Brock is at the end. We didn't know.
Well, as I mentioned to Joe, just as an example, last meeting, I mentioned to their traffic engineer that they hadn't put any specifics into the big document regarding oversized vehicles. And there's no language in it. And then he agreed, or so I thought, and I said, will you supplement, update, resubmit? We didn't get anything.
No, we got nothing.
So, I guess my point to you is that unless they put in detail and address how their traffic engineer thinks that that's not a big deal, or whatever they think, how I don't feel. But he did commit at the time to providing that update, if you want to call it, that data. Bring your gavel.
I did. All right, let's go.
It's my grandson's little hammer.
Isn't that a stone crab?
Who's next, Seth?
That is funny.
Oh, I like that.
What kind of gavel is that?
If everyone would take their seats so we could move on to the next application, please. Thank you.
Who's that guy over there? I don't know.
Thank you so much. Next public hearing. This is the Pulver/Rushmore Estate Winery public hearing for an area variance to permit the proposed use of a farm winery, whereas pursuant to Section 310-39.1B, winery access must be to New York State Route 32, and applicant proposes access through Quaker Road, a village road, and Ice House Road, a private road. Said property is located in the R1A zoning district at 14 Castleton Drive in Highland Mills and is known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as Section 202, Block 1, Lots 70 and 79. And I see that the applicant is here. Oh, Mr. Myro, you're really a glutton for punishment.
Thank you for noticing. Appreciate that. Jay Myro, Bluestein, Shapiro, Rich and Barone, Goshen, New York, for the applicant. I'm here with Mike Galante, who's our traffic expert. Larry Toro is our civil engineer. Seth Pulver is the principal for the applicant. So we were here last time. We had submitted a traffic study. The board had a number of matters that they wanted supplemented from Mr. Galante. I believe mainly involved the condition of the road and some other issues regarding traffic flow. You asked that we provide a copy of the narrative that we had provided to the planning board. We did provide that. And I believe Mr. Greeley's here as, on behalf of the town, as the town's traffic consultant. And I believe the board was going to have somebody reach out to DPW to confirm the condition of the roads. So, is there anything else I kind of missed on that?
I don't think so.
Well, Jay, you spoke, if I may.
Go ahead,
You
Gary.
spoke about providing that update, I'm sorry, the gentleman, traffic engineer, providing the updated traffic information, including oversized vehicles.
Correct.
Can you point out where that is?
Yes, it's the April 23rd letter from Mr. Galante.
I have a March 26th letter.
No, there's an April, again, we submitted the 15 copies. It's an April 23rd letter
Anybody else have that?
from Frederick P. Clark Associates.
I have the letter, which lists 5 supplemental traffic study documents, aerial photos, map, site plans, and narrative.
Can you just speak to what section it addresses oversized vehicles?
Well, I'm going to, listen, I
You'll get
figured
it.
I'd have
Okay.
Mr. Galante make a
Great.
presentation here
Thank you.
and answer your questions because he's the traffic guy, I'm not. So, is there anything else the board was expecting that we didn't provide? So far?
No, if we
So
have
far.
questions, we'll
That's
ask them as we go along.
Okay, so the site, we submitted an amended site plan. There were some drainage facilities, I believe Mr. Toro put on there. Larry, was there anything else? No, that was it, just... I remember there was an issue regarding whether Ice House Road would be a through road through onto, I believe, Castleton. Absolutely not. It's going to be blocked off by a gate. The planning board requires that that gate provide emergency services. We'll do it that way. There'll be no through traffic on Ice House Road. All right. So I think the main issue here is going to be traffic. I know Mr. Greeley probably would like to get in on this. So how about I have Mr. Galante talk about what he did in the supplement and explain what's been presented to you and what his findings were?
Good evening, Mike Galante, Frederick Clark Associates, the applicant's traffic consultant. And just going to briefly go back in time a little bit. Last month, we talked in some detail about the original traffic report, which is the large bound report, which is identified. I'll show it to you in a second. It's the cover says the expanded traffic study, which included the additional information requested by the town village's traffic consultant, Mr. Greeley and Mr. Collins. That's why it was called an expanded study. It asked for a Friday analysis. It asked for some other information. And then we discussed that. And we discussed the March 26th letter, which was an assessment of the roads, which was a request, I think, from an earlier meeting. And then at the last meeting, I was asked to provide a more detailed assessment of the roads serving the site. I will focus on traffic, volumes, capacity, operational characteristics. I'm not going to refer to depth of pavement because that's not my world. But this letter, actually all the report and the two letters provide a detailed description of the roads, pavement width, pavement markings, posted speed limit. Of course, we went into traffic volumes, actual traffic counts, analyses of before and after. We estimated site traffic. We did actual counts at the other winery that's a few miles up the road on New York Route 32. But to be conservative, we use the estimates for site traffic from the traffic engineering or the ITE handbook, which showed a much higher number of trips. So we use that as our analysis purpose, call it a worst case. And just for comparison, the winery up the road generated about 65 trips on a Saturday midday. It was a beautiful summer day. I was actually there watching activities. They had a lot of activity going on. In our estimates and the purposes of our traffic study, we used 150 trips. So we used a much higher number to show what the impact would be on the roads around our site itself. In the report or the letter report, if you will, dated April 23rd, are these graphics, and hopefully they're in color. I'm just going to walk on the other side. But the purpose of this graphic, we did full, complete capacity analyses of the roads, the intersections, on today's condition, a baseline condition, then a future condition, and I'll call it a build condition, with the winery traffic on top of that, the existing base volumes. And just in simple graphic format, in traffic engineering, it's levels of service. A, everything's great, just like in school. When you hit F, you're in trouble when you go home. In traffic engineering, it's traffic congestion, delays, and so on. And as you go up the scale or down the scale, A through A, B, C, and so on, the delays are increased, and that's how we measure traffic. And then that measurement is also translated into vehicle delay. And I'll keep it very simple, but that's why we did a graphic. The blue is, the intersections included in the analysis near the site itself. Route 32 at Quaker, Route 32 at Evans, and the site driveway or Ice House Road from Quaker Road. So we focused on those intersections, all stop sign controlled or unsignalized intersections. And this is based on the delay that was measured. This is a build condition. So this is with site traffic, with winery traffic, which is the 150 trips in a 1 hour period. The 150 trips is not everyone going in. It's not 150 trips going in, but it's a combination of entering and exiting site traffic. The results of these analyses, and here's the scale and delay. No delay is level service A. Level service F, full-blown delay is 80 seconds. That's how we measure it in traffic engineering, and it goes 80 seconds. 80 seconds per vehicle. So if you come to the stop sign and you wait and wait and wait and wait to exit any road onto a main road, let's say Quaker Road to Route 32, if you're waiting 80 seconds, if I'm waiting 80 seconds, I'm at level service F. If I'm waiting a couple seconds, 10 seconds, I'm at level service A. And generally, that's what this chart shows, and this is what the analysis shows. And it's a computer model. It's reviewed by the town's consultant. We all use the same programs. But this is essentially showing where these roads and these intersections are in a future build condition. They're nowhere near anywhere beyond level service C or F and so on. So the delays are very acceptable. And what this also tells us, if you look at the chart in the back of the original report, very small numbering, so I apologize, but it essentially shows that there's no change in level of service when you add the traffic from the winery. The only place that has a change in level of service is the Route 32 Ridge Road intersection, which is about 2 miles south on Route 32, which the town's consultant asked us to analyze. And that goes from B to C. It just goes over the line into the next level of service. That's also a stop sign controlled intersection. This is the Saturday condition, which is essentially the highest volumes as far as the roads. The Sunday condition is essentially, it's very, very similar, actually. So the results of the analysis are very similar. We also analyzed a Friday evening condition where the traffic at the winery would be much, much lower. It's more like a range of 45 trips or 50 trips. So obviously the Saturday, beautiful sunny day and Saturday, July, August, would have the highest volumes, and that's what we analyzed. The next part of the analysis was in reference to Ice House Road, and we had a fair amount of discussion about that. Today it's a road that is a private road owned by the applicant. It will be improved, I would say significantly in many cases as far as the alignment. The width of the road will be 24 feet. Some of the curvature will be modified to accommodate vehicles. And keep in mind, and I should have mentioned this at first, and you mentioned buses. I think you did. This application is not, the applicant's not going to permit any large buses into the site at all. Call it a tour bus or a large bus. None of them will be permitted at all. A bus with maybe, or a van, with 12 passenger van, something like that on a tour type of thing, a wine tour would be permitted. It's a large, almost like the size of some of the SUVs on the road today. But buses will not be permitted into the site, so it will not be on Ice House Road. It will not be on Quaker Road, and even though they can drive on Route 32 and other roads, they would not be going to this site. So just wanted to mention that. This chart, different color scheme, but, you know, in traffic engineering and analysis of two-lane roads, it's not an analysis you do every day, but you can do it. And the book says you start out with 2,800 vehicles in a 1-hour period. A two-way volume is the ultimate capacity of a road. But then you apply certain factors to that road, width of the road, width of shoulders, alignment of the road. So you can say speed, but in this case, I wouldn't do the speed because of the type of road. And you typically go from 2,800 vehicles very quickly, and I just estimated it's about 1,000 vehicles that from a capacity point of view, the theoretical capacity, because that's what we're trying to do here. We're in the range of about 150 vehicles on this road in the future. So we're all the way down at the bottom. I wouldn't say, you know, 2,800 is the ultimate capacity. It wouldn't be fair to say that, but it's more in the range of 1,000 vehicles, potentially a little bit lower or a little bit higher. But this development is at about 150 vehicles during that 1-hour period. And that's the number we used, as I mentioned earlier. Yes, sir.
Is that 152 in or?
No, total two-way.
Two-way.
Total, I won't say it's 50-50, but it's total
So
two-way.
about somewhere between 75 and
I'd have to
something.
check. I don't actually recall, but it's, let's say it's about 50-50. So it's about 75 vehicles in and about 75 vehicles out during a 1-hour period on Ice House Road. When you start looking at that, you realize how low the volume is. It's a two-lane road. It's no different than Quaker Road or Evans Drive and so on. It's certainly not the same type of road as Route 32. I'm not comparing it to that road. But from a traffic perspective, these roads can handle the volume of traffic. And that's purely from a traffic perspective. And the modeling we use is something that is required by DOT. It's required by your consultant. All traffic engineers use the same methodology to analyze roads. And typically you analyze intersections. So we did the intersections, which we did in the original report, the big thick one, and then this was a supplement to look at specifically Ice House Road. Now, we didn't analyze other developments in detail, but this property is about 50 acres. There are other permitted uses on the subject property. Just for comparison, a school can be on this property. I can't tell you what size school, but 50 acres can accommodate a pretty big school. We do a lot of schoolwork. If there are 400 or 500 students, you're going to generate hundreds of cars Monday through Friday, or obviously arrival in the morning and dismissal at the end of the day, and other things, after-school activities and so on. Weekends, if there are fields, you generate traffic on the fields for something related to the school. Recreational facilities, I believe, are permitted on this property. I couldn't say what type of recreational facilities, but 50 acres, you can generate a fair amount of development and a fair amount of traffic. My only purpose is to compare what we're proposing, which is a winery, which is seasonal, and yes, ball fields or something is seasonal also, but this is a weekend activity, typically spring through early fall. We're at about 150 trips. A school could be hundreds of trips twice a day as far as adding traffic to area roadways. That development may not only use Ice House Road, it might use other roads to get to the site itself. I just provide that for a comparison because we looked at the same comparison. There are other uses for this property that would likely generate more traffic. And there are other uses that are not even, there are other uses that are permitted on this property, but those are the two that really hit me as far as they can generate a fair amount of traffic. And I just provide that for consideration by everyone. The other parts of this letter report really provided more of a detailed summary of the roads. They're basically two-lane roads. Quaker and Evans do not have any paper markings. Most local roads here in town do not have paper markings. Route 32 certainly has a double yellow center line, shoulder lines. It's about 24 feet, two 12-foot lanes. The shoulders are paved. There's 6 to 8 feet of paved shoulder, and the speeds, I believe, are 55. Posted speed limit. Speeds are a little bit higher. We did speed studies out there also. We did volume counts and so on. I think I'm going to limit it to that, and I can certainly answer questions, but that was really the last discussion we had, I guess last month, which was a description of the roads. From my perspective, and I've documented this now in 3 different documents, is I believe the road's going to accommodate this site traffic. And I say that based on the results of the analyses that I've described, and I don't believe there's a need for any road or intersection mitigation. In other words, changing traffic control, stop signs to a traffic signal, for example. I just don't believe it's necessary because the analysis shows that it's not needed. And of course, your consultant will, I would assume, have some follow-up on that.
I have not done this before, so I'm a
Everyone's
rookie at this.
everyone's a
Okay,
traffic
so
engineer.
my question is, When you say 152 and 156 Saturday and Sunday, we said 75 and 75 just for ballpark
Yeah.
numbers
Yes,
in an hour.
1 hour, yes.
Extrapolating from that, are you saying, I mean, obviously every day wouldn't be the same,
No.
but could you end up in 10, because it was, I believe, 12 to 11, so around 11 hours, that's a lot of people in and out. What
don't-
would be your projection of an average day?
In total,
Yes.
we haven't done that. That's a very difficult thing to do in this type, looking at wineries, to be very honest. If I was doing a shopping center, I can go to that same trip generation handbook and tell you what a shopping center would generate on a daily basis, or a residential
You couldn't
development.
use the existing one as a comparative, because I know they might have the
Well,
same hours.
We
or-
didn't count all day. We counted, for example, on a Saturday, we counted from 12 to 6. We looked at the peak hour. We took the highest volume, which was from, I think, 1:15 to 2:15 on a Saturday, and about the same on a Sunday. In traffic, we always look at the highest volumes, peak volumes. I hate to call it the worst case, but the worst case. And that's what we analyze. If it works between 1:15 and 2:15, as far as with the higher volumes, it's going to work at noon when you have a lower volume, both on the road itself and potentially in and out of the site itself.
Thank you.
And keep in mind that depending on the events or activities scheduled at a winery or anywhere else, that would affect the volumes. So we purposely use the highest volumes that the book provided, which is the 150 trips.
Like a life event, you're saying, like something
Sorry?
that would generate more people?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we could have came in with the other winery and said it's going to generate 50 trips. But we felt it'd be more appropriate to give you the higher number that it could be if there's a special event on that particular Saturday, on a nice day in August. And that's when we counted, July and August.
So you could talk upwards of, well, I believe 200 outside and 100 inside would give you 300 people, and maybe if that was in the evening, let's say, and if you had during the day, you could perhaps have 500, 600 people visit the
During the
winery
course of a
in
day?
in a hopping day kind of thing?
I'm sure it's possible, but we haven't done that analysis to show. And again, it depends on what the activities are at the facility. But, take a school or a recreational facility that has pools and basketball courts and whatever, it's going to generate a fair amount of traffic.
True.
Yeah. And that would be, well, a recreational facility could be 7 days a week. A school is Monday through Friday. So I hope that's helpful.
The vision that Mr. Pulver gave us was not just for the winery, it was for other activities, fairs, hay rides, hiking, whatever.
that's why
And
we-
that would generate more traffic also. Was
No,
that-
that's why we used a higher number, the 150 trips. Because the other winery, just for comparison, was about 50 to 60 trips, and they had music and whatever going on when we were there. So there were other activities related to the winery, either directly or indirectly. So we more than doubled the traffic estimate for purposes of the analysis.
The traffic study addresses basically how the existing roads can handle the traffic.
Correct, that's the purpose of the
Our-
traffic study, yes.
Our concern is more not can the roads handle the traffic, how will the traffic impact people who live on those roads?
Well,
We're talking, according to your numbers, for example, Evans Drive has an average of 7 cars.
correct, in
Okay.
a 1 hour period, yes.
Right, and now we're going to 75, okay, let's even, if it's half of 75, because half come from the north, half come from the south.
For
That's
site
quite an
traffic-
increase.
For site traffic. Yes, it is an increase. It's a low volume, Evans Drive is a low volume road.
Right,
And
and the same with,
Quaker? No, Quaker has.
Quaker has 34 cars average, we're talking, I averaged Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Roughly,
And we're
yes.
going to, 75.
75 cars, yes.
So, yet, in the seeker form, there was no impact. That can't be.
Well, I think we may have discussed that before. I never say no impact. There's always an impact, but it's what is that impact? And that's the bar charts that I showed you and the analyses that are in the report describes the impact.
Well, it
But-
describes the impact maybe on the roadways, but, if you live on a street where 7 cars are going by, and now 50 cars are going by, That's a lot of cars,
True,
and that's a lot of disturbance.
true.
And originally, it was a gravel road, now it's a macadam road.
Ice House Road. Well, that's based on discussions here.
Right.
Yeah.
There was another part of the traffic study that said that cars turning from 32 onto Quaker Road, there was not much of a delay, but if there was, that cars could pass on the shoulder on the right.
Correct.
No, they can't.
Sure they
Well, it's not safe and it's illegal.
You can pass on the shoulder.
I got pulled over for doing that.
We don't know how fast you were going.
No, I was
Well, I
going
didn't
slow.
wanna say that.
And it was on Larkin Drive.
We could, I mean, we could throw this around
the-
for hours.
Right.
The point is, and you know, I'm on I keep getting all this information that, and this is from 2003 with the planning board, that the chairman said that the Ice House Road was to be closed and deeded to the residents at the end of it. And Mr. Brodsky said that he did not see any problem with that arrangement. So that's, and I've seen different aspects of that, and I think this is more for Mr. Myro
Yeah, I
than.
can't answer. Yeah.
And my other problem, and I think the biggest problem, is you want me to go against village law. Village law says a winery must exit onto 32. And you're going to ask me for 100% variance. Maybe there's a reason why they put that law into effect. But I think that's where let's get to the point of the matter here. We could talk all night on numbers and this and that. But
I agree.
Let's get
I
to the
agree.
point.
and
you're asking for
besides-
100% variance.
Okay, so the point, to address that point, we're asking for an area variance. This is, we're 450 feet on one end from 32. The winery is a permitted use in this zone, but for that bulk limitation, we could have a winery, but for the fact that we don't front on 32, we're asking for an area variance to allow us to front off of Quaker Road, which is a public road. The law, as set forth on the website, which is set forth there, is you have to weigh the benefit to the applicant against any potential detriment to public health, safety, and welfare. Any variance you grant, any variance you consider is going to be what you just described as being against village law.
That's true, but
Okay,
never at
So
100%.
that's not the criteria.
You're asking for 100% variance.
I understand, you can characterize it whatever way you want.
Well-
But the analysis is whether, one, this changes the character of the neighborhood, and number
Yes.
two, whether we're creating an unsafe, based on what information we are providing you, or for whatever information anybody else may provide you. But the analysis is still the same. You may find that it's a substantial variance, fine. You may find that it's self-created, fine. But we all know that there's case law that says that those two things alone are not going to be conclusive in this analysis. So I agree with you. You absolutely have the right to consider the size of the variance, but you can't do it in the context that we're asking for a change to village law. That's what every variance is for.
Exactly.
Karen, when Kevin is done,
But when you're going from 7 cars an hour to maybe 50 cars an hour through a,
Well, the question is whether that increased volume creates an unsafe condition. And the answer is no, it doesn't, unless we hear from your traffic consultant and he disagrees with these findings. Nobody's guaranteed a certain level of volume of traffic on a public road based on where they live. That's not, the public road isn't to serve their particular use and enjoyment. It's to provide access to and from properties, and it's to be, as long as it's done in a safe manner. Yeah, okay, so there's more traffic on a public road. You have plenty of back roads that are going to have more traffic than this with the winery in it. The people on this aren't guaranteed anything. It's a public road. It's designed to handle certain levels of traffic. If we've proven to you that the levels of traffic that have been submitted in our report are clearly acceptable, and, Mike, if you don't mind, where's the...
Well, I could make those charts too.
If you don't hit here, you're safe. If you don't hit here, you're not having even remotely a substantial impact. That's the finding that's been made on our traffic study. So,
Jay, just a point of clarification, though. My understanding of it, reading through the material over the last couple of days, or more actually, is that this talks about capacity, the road's ability to handle the traffic that's given to it. Am I correct in that assumption, sir? All right, it doesn't exactly speak to safety. You spoke of 80-second delay, am I remembering correctly? So it's more of like an inconvenience than a safety issue.
But adding traffic to a road and adding delay doesn't mean it becomes unsafe.
Correct.
It just doesn't mean that. So we could be at a level of service D or whatever. It still could be considered a safe road. It's how the road operates. And we made that assessment that adding the traffic and being down here quite low in the assessment, I don't identify this as an unsafe condition because we're adding 50 cars to a section of a road.
Did
or
you ever
75.
try to get out on a 32 off a Quaker Road?
Doesn't mean it's unsafe. No, I'm sorry, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Okay.
Get out that gavel.
Gary, you had something to ask?
you have to approach the state and get some sort of traffic control device in there.
Us?
But we don't, yeah, if you feel that the village is
Well, with 7 cars
suffering-
an hour, it's okay, but with 50, 60 cars an hour, I don't know. That's good. People are doing 55 miles an hour on 32.
Gary?
This is to both of you gentlemen. I'm always frustrated by the fact that traffic engineers love to address the quantitative trips, but I don't see any documentation or language in the report to address safety. Now, you just addressed safety, and one of you equated trips, suitable number of trips, acceptable number of trips at a service level ABC equals safe. Explain that to me. How
I didn't
does...
say it equals safe, I'm just saying that adding traffic to a road doesn't say it's unsafe.
Oh, okay, that's a backhanded way
No, I'm not
of addressing
trying
the
to
same
make
thing.
meanings, it's just-
When,
that's what I'm saying.
when you're talking about the number of trips you're talking about, the increase in traffic on Evans, Quaker, and Ice House versus the as-is versus the full build, how do you quantify, how do you qualify that being quote-unquote safe and suitable for whatever it will be? Whatever the number of houses are, whatever the number of citizens are walking on the sidewalk, whatever. How do you address the safety aspect?
Can I suggest, can I take a wild guess? I'm guessing that you do that
No,
with
nobody,
your...
wait, Jay, nobody
guessing
wants
that
a
you do that
nobody
with the
wants a wild
traffic-
guess.
I'm guessing
I
that
want an opinion from an expert.
Let me give you my opinion. My guess is that it's done through traffic control device. Speed limit, markings, stop signs, yield signs, those are the things that would control safety. Made a finding that there's no need to mitigate any of those issues on these roads based on the increase in traffic.
Put a statement in the document that says, if you believe it, that in your opinion, those 75 trips, 150 trips, whatever it may be, whatever the number is, I don't want to put numbers in your mouth, on Evans, Quaker, and Ice House will be quote-unquote safe. If you believe that, say it.
Gary, Ice House Road, the proposed Ice House Road is not there. So we have to discuss how it will be done if this is approved. In the traffic report, the first one, the summary report,
Yes.
on page 13, it says, when they're talking about designing the roads for use, it says, other factors such as level of service, travel time savings, and driver comfort and convenience are not considered of sufficient importance for very low-volume roads to influence their design criteria. And then it says below that, that low-volume roads, the design philosophy recommended for very low-volume local roads is based fundamentally on safety concerns. Public funds spent to improve such roads in the name of safety should be spent only when there's likely to be an actual safety benefit in return. How do you determine that? I don't know. How do you say that, well, we only lost one life this year, it's not worth making it safe?
I think the answer to that is, how do you?
I don't know.
Eventually, at some point in time, engineers have to come up with opinions. It's either the gentleman's opinion that the numbers and the environmental situation, the neighborhood, equals a safe condition or not. And then if he says I believe it's going to be safe, then the Woodbury traffic engineer has the ability to read that sentence and opine on whether he concurs or not. That's all I'm saying.
And most
Right,
roads,
well, I
Where
think,
is it written that he says this condition is, in my opinion, safe?
and most roads are like perpendicular. Is that the right word I'm using? Like a T?
yeah,
And
it's perpendicular.
I'm not talking about a
And-
safe road, I'm talking
Well-
about a safe condition.
I know, but you can't really have a safe condition when you have two roads that are 45 degrees
Well, all I'm saying,
to
Kevin,
a
is
55-mile-hour road.
A road
That
can
would be
physically
90.
support traffic, but the number of
90?
trips and the condition of the
Perpendicular is
neighborhood
90.
may render the condition unsafe.
Oh,
A
you're
normal
talking
road,
about.
like Bridge Road
Oh, right,
comes
right,
down,
right.
you
I
stop,
see
you see both
I
directions.
see what you're saying.
You come
Quaker
to get
Road's
the
at
Quaker,
45, right.
and they're doing 55 miles an hour, at least.
Karen, I have one other question.
Go ahead, Gary.
Jay, you brought up the 5 factors. You mentioned a couple of the factors. The document, the state law refers to the 5 factors.
The balancing questions.
Balanced criteria, one of which is alternatives. And I went by the property again, and I saw that on Castleton, there appeared to be 4 separate entrances onto that property. Right now, my understanding is that there's a business on the property that's open and functional. There's a business on that property to
On
which
what property?
the
Rushmore
Seth
Estate.
Culver's property, the applicant's property. My
That's
understanding is
the B&B.
that there's a business there, and clients, and deliveries, whatever it may be, traffic enters onto that. So is that correct? Traffic enters? Is it correct that there's a business on that property now, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, right, but are you aware of this, or are you finding this out for the first time?
I am aware of this.
So,
Getting late.
so people enter that business, clients,
Correct.
trucks,
Yes.
deliveries, whatever it may be. And I saw today 4 potential entry points. I saw Dunbarton Court, Ice House Road, Carmore Place, and then another entry that doesn't even have a name.
But they don't.
So is that the
Wait,
concern?
let him answer the
Is
question.
They don't come on to
Let him
32.
answer his
Whoa, whoa,
question.
What's
Guys,
the
guys.
question?
Come on.
My question is this, my question
go.
is,
Let him
if there's
answer.
already a business on that property, and there are ways that clients and other traffic enter it now, why is that not a suitable alternative to have the traffic get onto the property?
Because it doesn't front on 32.
No, my question is, what, you were asking specifically for a variance to use Evans, Quaker, and Ice House as the point of entry. As an alternative, why didn't you ask to use the existing roads as entry onto that property, the same way that clients enter now?
We'll take it. If you want to grant that variance, we'll take it.
No, all I'm asking is.
We did it because of the proximity.
One of the
I'm answering the
five
question.
one
We
of
did
the
it as the
five criteria
Please,
was
please.
alternatives. And why is that not an alternative?
We did it because of the proximity to 32. 450 feet from that one point, it was the proximity. That seemed to
Is
be the
there
most
anything-
logical access.
Is there anything legally that precludes clients from coming on that property now? Anything legally that precludes?
Well, other than that it's private property? I mean, same with you. If somebody enters your property and you don't like it, you call the police and they have them taken off.
There's nothing legally that precludes your clients from coming to the B&B now, correct? Correct. If those number of trips, whatever they are now, whatever your back and forth is, to the B&B, increased to the numbers that the gentleman was saying for the winery on this tract, is there anything in Brigadoon that would preclude those people from taking that route?
Yes, we're going to block it off. That's a condition. That will be a condition of our approval.
But
No
that-
access from
That's
other
your
than
choice.
Ice House.
That's choice. That's not legal.
You want
They
that, but
can't
you've
exit
said
on
that. You
Castleton.
wanted that.
Why?
They have to exit on the 32.
No, I understand that.
So then,
The five factors require us to ask the question, are there any alternatives
There isn't.
to what he's asking for? And I'm trying to understand if use of the existing roads would be an alternative. That's all. Alternative to what they're asking. That's all.
The answer is,
Still
if you
not
say so, yes.
fronting onto 32. They would still need a
If you
variance.
prefer
Right,
that,
I understand
if
that.
you prefer that as an alternative, we'll revise the plan.
You answered the question, thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to make a suggestion. It's nearly 10 o'clock. There's a lot of people in the public. Maybe we hear from the public first and we can hash out these issues later. That's up to you. I'm just making a suggestion.
Board have any questions right now before, if we ask the public? I have a lot of secret questions, but we can wait on that because there's no action till secret's done anyway, so.
I have some on dealing with business, which might also generate some questions from the audience as well, which all is related to traffic. It comes
Okay,
back to
that
traffic.
was, okay.
So
Go
can
ahead
I
if it's
go ahead
related
now?
to the traffic, yes.
I will be as direct as possible. Just one quick thing, Jay. We went from gravel to macadam. That's macadam. When we spoke of it last time, I believe Kevin said just the apron was to be pavement and that the rest of it was supposed to be gravel. I'm just saying, it seemed when I read
The new one says
the newest
macadam.
one says macadam, and it sounded like all the way up. Am I correct in that?
Good evening. Barry Toro, Civil Tech.
Yes.
Yes, we did a field visit. We revisited the site and the roadway, and a lot of the road, the existing road is macadam. There's a lot of gravel and whatnot on the sides, the shoulders. So as we develop it into 24-foot wide, we'll take care of that gravel. That was a concern with gravel and spinning tires and whatnot. And ultimately, it'll be a macadam road.
Is that 24 feet with shoulders or without shoulders?
It's 24 feet, and there's still room on each side. It's not, but the
Will the
road,
shoulders be-
traveled way itself will be 24-foot wide.
Okay, now that, so if this was the road, that would be 24 feet, and then what's next would just,
It'd be
The wo-
grass swale. See, because part of the thing that came up from a visit with the highway superintendent, he had asked, because the drainage coming all down that road, if we put some catch basins and tie it into the drainage system on Quaker. So with that request, we could put some swales on the sides of the road to collect the drainage, and then keep it from dumping out onto Quaker and onto the adjoining property as it does now. And the neighbor Taphorn had an issue with the drainage existing now coming off and dumping in the rear of his property. With this now, we can cut off that swale and take the drainage down to the end of the road to the, a formalized drainage system and get it out as opposed to where it goes now.
are any of this, is any of this road or any of the drainage going to be built on next to wetlands? Because
No,
it says there's wetlands on the property, but I don't know where they are, where they're located.
no, nothing related to the road.
So the road does not traverse any wetland?
Correct.
There- Okay. Joe, are you done with that?
I would surmise it would be thick enough to carry the weight of the vehicles, just as a matter of
Yes.
course.
Yes.
All right, since we're here on the thickness, is there any plan to bring up some heavier things sporadically as necessary. And I'll come back to this with some of my business questions. For any kind of small tractor trailers, anything like that, to bring any amount of supplies or things that are necessary for the business to run.
I can't imagine tractor trailers going in there. I mean, the road will have to be suitable and reviewed by emergency services. So if they can bring a fire truck in there, I think that's, it's going to address whatever delivery trucks are going to come in.
So it'll be the same as an ESO, a single axle, maybe double axle, but a box truck, not a tractor trailer.
I don't envision why a 55-foot tractor trailer would have to go up there.
I do have a question that'll kind of come back to that, but all right, if that's the way it works, that's the way it works.
Anything else, Joe?
I have some stuff to ask Mr. Pulver, I believe.
Yeah, I have a bit also. Gary, do you have anything you want to ask before we open it up to the public and then?
Well, can I finish what I'm doing first?
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pulver, if you please. In an estimated way, the entire parcel is 55 acres. Obviously, with what you blocked out for us on the blueprint, it's hard to get dimensions out of that because it's irregularly shaped and so forth. But how much approximately would be under cultivation in your, just your guesstimate at this time?
It's on the.
It is on the drawing?
Yeah. I had a question on the acreage too, because there's some disparities. You've got 41.83 acres proposed action. Physically disturbed 5 acres. Then you've got a total, and there's 7.3 acre difference because you say you have 49.13 acres, but in your vision you have 55 acres. Like, where did all this?
Well, there's other lots that are continuous with it that are
Is that where the 55 comes from?
correct.
What about the discrepancy on the secret report of 7.3 acre difference?
He didn't prepare that, but if there's a discrepancy,
That-
clarify.
Yeah, there is. Who prepared this?
I think
There's a 7-acre parcel that Mr. Polo owns. That's where the difference between 42 to 49 comes in. Because it asks
Right.
for contiguous property owned by the applicant. So it's not necessarily part of the application, but they ask for the overall that's owned by the applicant.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So that's where that number comes from.
That would be lot 72, right, the 7.3 acres? That's the other side of Ice House.
Oh, I don't know. I
on
don't have the
on
map.
On a blueprint. Okay, so what I was asking basically is, for what you're anticipating your needs to be, as far as wine is concerned, how much of that can be fulfilled from what is produced when it's totally up to 3-4 years, whatever it takes for the vines to mature and to get the grapes that you need? How much of your wine needs can be produced from grapes grown at Rushmore?
I can't answer that question at this point. I know that I'm going to phase it in very gradually. I don't want to clear a huge swath of land. I have a beautiful wooded parcel, and the ingress and egress are going to come in beautifully through old growth trees before it opens up into where I am going to do some clearing. But I intend to do it as slowly as I can and in stages. So what Karen read was less than 5 acres initially for the road, the building, and the grapes.
All right, so here's where I'm going with this. This is basically how much wine or grapes would need to be trucked in to make up the difference. Now, if I'm correct with my memory of New York State law for wineries and microbreweries and so forth, X amount has to be produced by you folks, and then you may bring in other things to supplement that, and it's still considered your product. Am I correct in that?
I haven't applied yet for the New York State liquor license that I do need to get as one of the conditions.
No,
for
you
this.
need a farm winery license.
Correct.
And a farm winery in New York needs to be located on a farm.
Okay.
I emailed the state liquor authority and asked them, since there's no farm there now, does planting the vines create the farm? I haven't received an answer. They didn't know when I spoke to them on the phone, so they gave me their legal department. And there's other licenses, you know, like you on the secret form you have, does the proposed action require a permit, approval, or funding from any other government agency? And you put New York State liquor license. Well, before anything, you need a farm winery license. But if you're going to market it, you're going to need a marketing permit. You might need a concessionaire's license. There's all kinds of, you know. And nowhere in your plan do I see see anything for the production of the wine. In other words, crushing it, fermenting it, bottling it. And a farm winery, you have to, 51% of it has to be produced on the farm. And if you truck it in, it has to be from New York State. They do give you a three to 4 year time period, you know, to get started where you can truck in. But after that, you're on your own.
Yeah, those are all issues that, listen, I mean, there's just so much effort we can put into this until we know whether or not we're going to be getting this variance. If we don't get this variance.
Right, but you still have to complete the seeker form. And that's what I'm referring
The
to.
form was completed with respect to the access, the issue before this board.
But we were doing an uncoordinated seeker review.
Right, and that's regarding your review as relates to this particular issue.
So we don't need to address anything else on the seeker?
I don't know if I would go that far, but what Mr. Myro was telling you is that the EAF is prepared on the particular application. The application is for an area variance to the extent that other questions are asked about the operation, the environmental impacts of having a winery there or a farm there are beyond the variance application.
I didn't realize that. I thought it was, we were doing the entire seeker.
No, there'll be a separate, no, this is uncoordinated.
Right,
You only-
right, but-
You only identify, Rob.
Go ahead.
You only identify environmental issues that relate specifically to the variance consideration. If we get the variance, we go back to the planning board, they do their own full environmental review for all of the environmental issues that are raised in terms of the site plan. And those certainly will come up, but we're kind of jumping the gun here if we have to get to those issues.
What I have, though, Jay, is a tractor-trailer question that has to do with traffic,
Well, Mr.
which is,
Gallant, yeah, we're not going to have tractor trailers.
well, if you're hauling in, my brother-in-law is in a trucking business, and he has hauled wine for other wineries in this area, I believe one up towards Ulster.
Listen, as a condition of a variance, as a condition of site plan approval, we're going to consent to a condition that there be no tractor trailers entering the property for any purpose. And you can impose that as a condition.
All right, noted. It begs the question of how you're going to get that much wine or whatever, grapes up there on single-axle trucks. But, all right, I would like to have some kind of estimate on the traffic that goes with that. I would like to have some kind of estimate on how many farm workers are projected on an average daily basis. All right, I think that that's a fair question. So far, we've talked about people coming to visit. We haven't talked about the people that are coming to work there. Also any other staff. You would need some kind of probably secretarial or whatever people to watch it. And just on traffic, it's been many, many years since I've been to a wine tasting. I used to go to one at Brotherhood when I was young, but they used to do those in sessions. Now, your business narrative gave us 12 noon to 11 p.m. So would you have sessions of wine tasting where people come in, you'd sign up if you were there and you had to wait an hour for the wine tasting to be over before you could go to the next one? Again, it speaks to traffic. I'm trying to keep everything to traffic.
I'm sorry,
In other words,
specifically?
Is it like we come in and you say, okay, you can go in and taste the wine, and if it's 5 people get to taste, or as in the way of Brotherhood, it used to be you had tickets to a certain period of time, let's say 6 in the evening to 7 in the evening, 1 hour's time. At the end of that time, you were done with the wine tasting, you could buy your wine, and that pretty much was the way they did it. Now, you have, in your narrative, have said other things, you've made it more like a hike and walk around and see how it's made. Explain how the whole process works, an educational kind of interesting as well. So have you any idea of how you would do the tasting, just so we have some idea how people would arrive and the traffic that it would create?
I'm guessing, people aren't gonna make reservations. I mean, people are gonna drive in, and I don't think it's gonna be affected as to whether you can get in the building or not.
No, I'm just saying as far as the tasting would drive a certain amount of traffic to be there at certain times, Jay. Obviously, you could go,
So you say wine tasting from 11 to 1 or something like that?
yeah, if that was some kind of idea.
Listen, if the place, I'm assuming that if the place is just hopping, then, you know, you need to control your crowds that way. I'm sure that you would implement that.
But for now, it stands that you would have like a preset sort of thing that people could
We gotta move
just have a sampling when they arrive. They just, okay, the tour starts now and we go.
Yeah, my guess is, do you expect it to
This
have
could be going on for
such traffic that
hours.
you would have to control that?
I would like to be that lucky to be able to sell tickets.
Understood.
We need to get to the audience.
So I asked about how many more people for the business staff, for county secretarial, wine tasting affairs, whatever. You spoke of life events and catered affairs, yes, in your business narrative. So that would increase the amount of people that would have to come in if it was a catered affair of some sort. Again, 100 inside, 200 outside.
Well, I didn't think, I used that as a capacity, not as something that I thought would be happening at the same time. I thought inside would be during certain times, and then
Outside would be certain times.
Stays on.
But you would have additional help that would come in for anything catered for 100 people, obviously.
Sure.
All right, so this all affects traffic as well. Well, yes, you'd have an influx in with your help and out at a certain time, but the people, well, if it was a life affair, a bar mitzvah, let's say, then people would show up basically at the time that the thing was start, and then probably would kind of break off in bits and pieces, and then there'd be the final shout. But 65 per hour doesn't have 100 people arriving at 6 o'clock. You know, that is a little different sort of thing. Just what if, okay?
You want to hold
Okay,
you?
that's
You
all
want
the stuff I have.
Gary, have anything? Kevin? No.
Not
All right.
me.
All right, how about we open it up to the public? All right. If you're going to speak, please speak to the application and speak to the board. Is there anyone in the first row?
Good evening. Honorable Chair Unger and members of the Zoning Board, thank you for opening this to the public. My name is Maureen Hallahan. I'm the President and CEO of the Orange County Partnership. For 32 years, the partnership has worked closely with expansion and attraction projects that bring jobs and tax ratables to our local municipalities. Orange County is one of the most desirable locations, not only for industrial and office users, but also for bucolic tourist attractions and eclectic venues. And Rushmore Estate Farm and Winery in the town of Woodbury already is one of the loveliest and elegant locations for tourists to visit, to stay, and to return over and over. We're fortunate that the owners are willing to invest hundreds of thousands more to bring it to a world-class venue. Our most successful projects in terms of true investment in the community come from investors that live, work, and raise their families here in the community. Why? Because they're part of who we are. This is the case with Rushmore. Dr. Pulver is personally invested his time and treasure into the success of this project. He resides on the site, and he has always been committed to the community with a history of charitable giving, growing jobs, and helping individuals. As a community, we need to support them. So Rushmore Estate will be creating an experience for its visitors with their proposed 4,000 square foot building that will act as a tasting room. This will create the perfect tourism attraction. It will also be a family-oriented outdoor space for everyone in the area to enjoy. Keep in mind that Rushmore will bring in jobs and career opportunities for college graduates, creating positions in farm management, winemaking, and hospitality management. Orange County has struggled with providing good jobs for high school students and summer jobs and the like, and Rushmore has included the hiring of youth and the overall in their overall corporate plan. But most importantly, Rushmore will preserve and enhance the property, improve the roads, and pour thousands of dollars in taxes into the local community. The most successful wineries and agribusiness-related projects enter through quiet roads. It's a part of the ambiance, and it contributes to their success. So at the partnership, we fully support this economic engine, this job creator, and this tourism opportunity for the town of Woodbury, and we wholeheartedly stand behind the Rushmore Estate Farm and Winery and ask that you make every effort to support the variance to advance their project. And I have this in writing, and I'd like to hand it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any, first row?
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Bill Fioravanti. I'm the Director of Economic Development for Orange County. I'm here tonight representing my department as well as the County Executive's Office, and I'm representing the Orange County Tourism Director. Unfortunately, Amanda Dana, she can't be here. She has another engagement in the city, but she wanted to be here because we're very supportive of this project and we're supportive of the application for the zoning variance. Just to touch on that for a minute, and the variance obviously is a matter of so many feet, but frankly, I don't fully, with all due respect, I don't fully understand the rationale behind the requirement for it to front onto Route 32 for a farm winery use. Frankly, I think that not only do I think it won't add to the benefit, to the value of the project, I think it actually takes away from it some of the beauty of farm wineries that we have, all across the county that are very successful and really add to the elements that Ms. Hallahan talked about, the agritourism and just the appeal that Orange County has. Finding these wineries off the beaten path to a degree, not off a main road where it's has big frontage. That's really the appeal, is that you come to these locations and they're really in these beautiful bucolic settings, as she said, and you discover really what's there. So I don't really understand the value there, but I do think it gives some credibility to the request for the variance. We really believe strongly that this is an ideal use for this site. As I mentioned, it adds to the tourism aspect that we have in Orange County, which is to say it's a burgeoning industry sector to us is a gross understatement. But again, especially in agritourism, because that's really part of our appeal here as well, not to mention the jobs and the increase to the tax base as well. So it's an ideal use for the site, and one of the things I appreciate most about the project is really the respect and the reverence that Dr. Pulver has for the property, for the estate itself, and the special place that Woodbury is. So, I have great confidence that he's going to do it the right way, in an elegant manner, in a respectful manner, in a way that really adds to the culture and the fabric here in Woodbury, not the one that takes away from it. And the last point I want to make is really to underscore the couple of things that Mr. Galante said. One, that the traffic studies, and I imagine that your consultant will ultimately back that up, that the impacts are minor, as you saw with the graphs and charts there, and also the points that Mr. Galante made about alternative uses for the site, recreation, schools, a lot of things are permitted under the R1A, and they would all have much greater potentially negative impacts on the neighborhood and in the town in general. And this is one that will have low impacts but add a great deal to the area, and again to the appeal of Woodbury and to Orange County. So we're very supportive of the project, and we encourage you to grant the variance, and we hope that Dr. Pulver receives his approval. So thanks for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in the second row?
Good evening. My name is Lynn Alencione. I'm the CEO and President of the Orange County Chamber of Commerce, and I appreciate the deliberation that you are taking with this, having sat myself on a zoning board for 5 years in the village of Goshen. I understand the restrictions, the concerns that you have. Rushmore Estate is a very proud member of the Orange County Chamber of Commerce, and for us, that proves a commitment to the community. Not every business in the county is a member of the chamber. To become a member of a chamber means that you are invested in the community, that you're concerned about the community, that you're concerned about the quality of life, which I know is some of the things that you were very concerned about, Mr. Abrams. Dr. Pulver, he's a long-standing member of this community, as you know. He's esteemed. As Maureen has said, he has put significant time, resources, and energy into his home, Rushmore Estate Bed and Breakfast, as well as his practice. He's always been in the village of Woodbury. He lives here. He's not going to do anything that's going to endanger the quality of life for his neighbors. Nothing at all. He's not going to jeopardize even the character of the community. Many times we worry about that when we live someplace and we see somebody kind of swoop in and they want to do something and they don't live there, but he does live here. He lives here. He's invested in the community. Mr. Abrams, you were specifically concerned about the quality of life, not just the road and the safety. Every winery has its own personality. And if approved, this will be unlike anything else that there is in the county. And because the Rushmore Estate is historic, it's one of the more unique sites in Orange County. A winery on this property, it's not something different. It's an extension. It's an extension of the rich history of this estate and of Dr. Pulver's ongoing commitment to providing his clientele an elegant and exceptional opportunity to relax. This is a great opportunity for your village. There's a lot of villages who would love to have something like this, of this caliber, with this elegance, this type of luxury. This is not going to be a winery where there's busloads of people coming in. This is not going to be a winery where there's going to be loud music festivals. This is definitely not going to be a winery where there's going to be very raucous, I'm turning 21 and I'm inviting all my friends. That's not what's going to be happening. So the people who live along this road are not going to have to deal with some of the effects that maybe other wineries might have incurred because of the clientele. So I don't believe that this is going to be a detrimental effect to the neighborhood at all. And I can tell you, I don't know if you've done, I have driven on Ice House Road. I have gone up and down and banging and up and down. And if I lived on that road, I would be really concerned about getting emergency access vehicles up there. I'd be really concerned about an ambulance getting up there. I'd be really concerned about a fire truck getting up there, even a police car. Because right now the road is unimproved. It's a road that is just, it's dirt. There's drainage issues that have been articulated. So there's mud, there's slippage. If I lived on that, I would be a little concerned because it's not paved. Everything that is in front of you for this application is very specific about improving this road. How is that a detriment to the quality of life? That's improving people's safety. That's improving their ability to get to the hospital. That's improving the ability of a fire truck to get up there and get to their house so it doesn't burn to the ground. From my perspective, I see that as really improving somebody's quality of life, improving their safety, allowing people to have a much better, safe environment. So everything else, everybody's already spoken about the testing and the quality, but I do want to urge you to please approve this. This is a great opportunity for you. This is a magnificent property, and this project is an extension of what's already been there. Wineries can be fabulous, fabulous opportunities for people, and the way that this has been conducted, the bed and breakfast that's there, it is a classy, elegant respite for people. This is not just a winery, this is a respite for people, and those are the people that will be attracted. This is not going to attract a bunch of 22-year-olds who are going to be up there to have a good time. That's not what it's going to be. So it will add jobs, as Maureen said, will add revenue, sales tax, and there are so many people here to support this project. So on behalf of the Orange County Chamber of Commerce, on behalf of my membership, on behalf of my board, I strongly urge you to approve this application for a variance for the road, because it will really help your village. It will help the people, and I believe it will help the people who live on that road. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Second row.
This is going to take hours. You got to keep moving. I'm telling you. You can limit it.
Robin Krause, Highland Mills. Actually hearing from somebody who lives here, understands the area, with all due respect to the previous speakers. I am 100% opposed to this 100% needed variance. It's substantial, to say the least. Getting back to the actual need of Dr. Pulver needing the variance, is for the one little phrase primarily about access to 32, which obviously he does not have. I live not on Ice House Road, but I do live on a private road. We've lived here for 36 years. Our road width is about approximately the same width as Ice House Road. We have one way in, one way out. I don't know how on earth we would ever deal with a winery or something of this magnitude. We have small children living in the area, on the road actually, riding their bikes. We have summer people coming up with small children, younger children, riding their bikes and skateboards on our road that we actually paved partially of the part that we own. We own, and my neighbor owns the road. Other people have the right-of-way over it and stuff. So in terms of the 24-foot width improvement, I don't know where they're going to get it from. If they would do it on my road, it would be my front lawn and utilities on the other side. So that would be impossible to do. I'm not saying Ice House would be impossible, but same scenario in my opinion. Also, at the planning board level, Dr. Pulver did speak about festivals and different large events, weddings, and so forth. So I think you also need to keep that in perspective. It's not just a winery, which I happen to love, but you know, in the safety and the welfare and the health of our residents who live there, not who are visiting, I think this is key, which is probably why that little section of the requirement in the code is there. Health and safety of the quality of life of residents that live there. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else on the second row? Third row?
Samantha Armstrong, Highland Mills. I am a resident of Brigadoon, and I am directly affected by this project. Charm, character, historic, asset, and attractiveness. These are some of the words that come to mind by members of our community to describe the Rushmore Estate property owned by Seth Pulver. In his ownership for almost 20 years, Seth has taken this property and restored it, both structurally and in landscape, to absolutely stunning levels. This was done with care and pride. Seth's current vision for the winery project is a most welcomed opportunity for our town, county, and especially our community. This project would increase tax revenues for our town village, beautify the grounds even further, ensure stability and ownership of the land, as well as creating more jobs and serve as a venue for new memories and good times to be made. As an active community member, I initiated a petition that was targeted to mostly members of our community in the immediate areas surrounding the estate. The petition detailed the vision of the winery as well as the issue having it come to fruition. Over 200 people signed it, of which 100 were more community members. Some in attendance tonight agreed that this would be a welcome venue for Woodbury. And I provided you with copies of the online petition, but I just wanted to point out just a few comments from the petition. Amanda Dana, Director of Tourism for Orange County. I feel strongly the project Seth is looking to accomplish only adds to the attractiveness of the area and most definitely will be a strong economic driver to the economy. Additionally, the agricultural aspects of this project ties nicely to the backbone of our county, which is farming. In a climate where so many parcels are being developed as high-density housing projects, this farm winery will undoubtedly be a complement and a value addition to tourism. Ed and Tracy Basso of Brigadoon. We have known Seth Pulver for 15 years. His vision, work ethic, and attention to detail is far beyond the norm. When you walk the grounds of the Rushmore Estate, it is clear to see. Now that he is willing to open his property to the public shows the passion he has for this winery. That is why this will be a successful business model and a beautiful addition to our community. Please approve this project. And of course, there's other comments and such that were pretty nice to see and to read. So as a whole community, we need to continue our preservation of our land from excessive building and housing. It needs to continue to thrive as a community for all. With this project, Seth will indeed be creating the stable ownership of this large property for many years to come. Seth has made and continues to make a big investment on this project. I ask that our esteemed board grant Seth the variance necessary to move ahead with this winery for the continued betterment and beautification of our town, and we all need to work together. In the words of Nobel Prize winner Dennis Gabor, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Let's all work together to create this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Russell Cohen, Highland Mills. I live in Brigadoon myself. I have something also. I have empathy for people who are concerned about traffic and their children. I live on Brigadoon Boulevard, and I have 2 little boys now. They're grown, and they grew up on Brigadoon Boulevard. And when you guys talk about the increase in traffic from 14 to 75, that seems like about a car every minute. And I could promise you that much more cars go up and down Brigadoon Boulevard, and my kids grew up in a very safe and caring and loving community. We didn't feel there was a threat there, but I do understand that, you know, but we felt that it was still a very safe place to grow up. I've been living in Brigadoon for 16 years. I'm a small business owner. My wife and I own Jumpstart Therapy. We provide pediatric home care services to the children of Orange County. I'm also very good friends with Dr. Pulver, and I have the privilege of spending countless hours and many days at the estate. It's amazing to watch what goes on there. The place is breathtaking. It takes a village to run that place. There's a million things going on, like electricians, plumbers, contractors, groundskeepers, and Dr. Pulver manages all of that without a blink of an eye. I can't imagine anyone coming into this property and being able to do that. He shops local, he eats local, he does everything local. He spends his Saturday mornings at the food pantry. I often ask him to go out to dinner, and he won't leave the town. You know, I want to go someplace else, he won't leave. So he's committed to supporting and making our community grow, and I think now he's asking for a little help. He's asking for a variance, he's asking for a little empathy himself. He needs some support, and I'm here today to offer my support proudly. I vote to keep him here. I think this is what we were voting on tonight. Do we support a local member of our community and help him start a new business on his property, or do we shut it down and possibly promote the sale of the property and the relocation of an esteemed member of our community? I wouldn't be able to handle that. This is not a side project for him or something that's exciting. This is his future. I've spoken to him at length about it, and I'm convinced that the goal of the farm and winery, his estate, is the best solution, is the greatest good for the most people. It is the best interest of our great town and the future of the property, its natural habitat. Its beauty is in jeopardy if he does not get approved. Unfortunately, I can think of a dozen worse things that could happen to that property besides a winery. I see our community changing, and a farm and winery is a happy place to add to our town. You do not need to look any further than the bed and breakfast he is currently running if you are concerned about how this new venture will be run. Go online, read the reviews. It's a 5-star getaway, luxury and exclusive, and he has his hands in every detail. That is why every person who has stayed there is giving it glowing reviews. I can tell you with confidence the farm and winery will be run the same way. Whatever the zoning board decides is the healthiest and best way to proceed with this project, I guarantee you Dr. Pulver will adhere and make sure all parties involved are happy. And finally, I ask, why not a farm and winery? How much fun would that be? You drive off exit 16, you stop at the Commons, go shopping a little bit, you have some lunch at Jay's Deli, then you make your way up to Rushmore Winery. Have a glass of wine, make sure you have a designated driver. Maybe if it's a Wednesday night, you stop by here for some entertainment. Then you make your way up the road to Storm King, then through Cornwall and New Windsor, and you end your journey in Newburgh. You know, I think I forgot about Paleo. You don't want to forget stopping there. You know, I think it's just another destination on Orange County. I just see it as being a positive. I am excited about its potential, and it's clear that all great businesses have to jump through some hoops and hurdles to get started, and sometimes their journeys begin in front of boards like you. I ask that you grant this variance. I can imagine that the first winery in Napa Valley probably had to go through some zoning boards. Napa Valley, Hudson Valley. You know, I think we should be on the right side of history and grant this variance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This could be all night. Gotta move along.
Hello, Robert Lipkin, also a Highland Mills resident. I didn't know Seth until a few years ago, but I had started my own business in the community as an off-site caterer, private caterer. And without knowing Seth and without Seth knowing me, with his B&B getting up and rolling, he approached me to help him out with the food for his B&B clients, to serve the breakfast for him. And that was a lifesaver for me. He didn't know me. He gave me a chance to develop my business by helping him out with his business and keeping everything local. And because of that success that he's had with the B&B, it's helped my business because I've been able to get clients through off-premise catering that I've met that he's done through his B&B. So right there's an example that Seth is trying to work with the community and have other community businesses work with him, and he's reaching out. And it trickles down. The more business he got that I got, I was able to keep my people employed. I'm a part-time business. I have a part-time staff. The more business I get, the happier my staff is. These are youths. These are young people that are looking for work, and I'm able to keep them happy. The more he's able to do with this winery, and as Joseph talked about the catered events, again, that's more business that local caterers like myself would be able to do and keep our staff employed in that area. He's really reached out to the community to keep them involved just like he is. And that's what we need more. We need people, we're giving other people opportunities in this community to survive. We have Woodbury Commons, we have all the chains, but what people came up here 4 years ago was the sense of community, the sense of small town. And by reaching out to your fellow community members and giving them opportunities to grow is perfect. And this is a perfect example of that. Maureen, I'm sorry, I have your name right, was talking about, the whole tourism thing. And I've heard some comments of, do we need another winery? We have Palea 2 miles up the road. But if you look at the Shunamook Wine Trail, there's nothing else but Palea in this area. You have all the Warwick wineries and that stuff, and you have things north in Dutchess County, but you have nothing else here. So it's not redundant to have another winery a few miles down. Someone mentioned Napa Valley. You have wineries every 50 feet in Napa Valley, one right after another. Each address is another winery. So it's not redundant to have another winery in the area. It could only just bring more business into the area. Michael Bruno in Tuxedo and Sloatsburg has this vision of bringing people up from New York City to the tourism of Hudson Valley. And yes, he's Tuxedo and Sloatsburg, but if you look at his site, he talks about the Storm King Arts Center and bringing people up here, Woodbury Commons. This is another destination along the way. My other job, I work at another destination in the Orange County, in Cornwall. I'm at the Hudson Highlands Nature Museum. We talk about preserving the land and not building up all these huge housing developments. This is saving a huge property and keeping it beautiful in nature. It's so well designed as it is now. The winery will only enhance that. So I ask that whatever you need to do in terms of variances, think about what the business can do for Orange County. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in the next row?